Okay, so today I just wanted to do a quick video, a little bit of a walkthrough on potentially using GPT or OpenAI to kind of get some business value out of some of your customer service ticket data, for example. And you could apply this to any kinds of data, but I'm just having a look particularly at classifying customer service tickets. So let me get straight into it. So essentially, I just want to run through, using AI to analyze and classify your customer service tickets. Now, first question is why. So a couple of things. So your customer service ticket data could have a ton of strategic insights that you might be able to leverage. There's potentially a lot of information or potential trends sitting in there. You might be receiving, several complaints of a particular product, or maybe there's certain areas of the business that are causing more friction and leading to more service tickets. Now, if you are doing an amazing job at classifying and categorizing all of those, you can pull in some insights off of that, and it's great. If you have all this data and you're not classifying or categorizing that data, you can't really look at it to pull reports and identify some insights. And it's more of a sort of a gut feel go, where you think that certain things are happening based on certain tickets you've seen, but you don't really have any data to back it up. Now, so what I'm trying to look at here is, where we might have a large volume of data, you might have tens of thousands of customer service tickets, and they have not been sort of categorized or classified. Which leaves you with no useful data out of that, right? So the other thing is, why would we use AI to do this? It's just really speed and the amount of effort. So you could have a customer service team go and reclassify and categorize tickets, but the amount of time and effort that will take, as well as the just the sort of the manpower and the waste of resources effectively to do that. Is it worth doing it? Maybe not, probably not. And so using AI, it's a fantastic use of the software or the technology because it's really built for this. It's to understand and interpret data and to be able to do categorization and classification of information on a large scale at a rapid pace. So it's a fantastic way to do it. All right, so let's look at how. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the OpenAI API. So I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to use a tool called GPT for Sheets if you haven't heard of it before. And I'm just going to show you a little bit about prompt engineering. And then we'll talk a little bit about data export and import. So really what I've done is I've exported some potential sample data from your customer service system and what you can do to kind of tweak that a little bit and then re-import it back into the system to update your records. All right, so let's take a look. All right, so let me jump in real quick. So what I've got is, so I've got this Google Sheet set up. All right, so I have used this on sort of real world data, obviously in terms of data protection and privacy. I'm not sharing that here. What I've done is I've actually used ChatGPT and I've asked it to generate, a series of 20 sample tickets from a customer or from a customer service system. So this is kind of just a general idea of what you might be receiving, but obviously you would get this from your own data system. So if you think about how to get this data, this would be, if you go into customer service system and you go and look at your list of tickets, what you could do is you could do an export. Ideally, you want to include some sort of ticket ID, and then you can include other various information. So I've got an example here, title, creation date, and description. So really, the core of what you would really need would be some sort of ticket ID or record, and then you'd want a description. So this is really the crux of the ticket that's been logged. All right, so then what I've also done is I've added a GPT prompt as a text field here, just one of the cells. So this is what I will actually send to the AI to ask it to classify it. So I'll show you how this works in a moment. But effectively, what I've done is I'm prompting here to say, analyze this ticket, output 4 variables. So I'm looking for priority, so low, medium, or high. I'm looking for a ticket classification, whether it's general, billing, product, refund, or complaint. Now, you might have a slightly different use case scenario, or we want to tweak these a little bit. By all means, that's what, you're welcome to obviously change that as you need. And then I'm looking for sentiment, so positive, negative, or neutral. This kind of just really, just a general idea of, is a customer upset? Are they positive? Are they, where do they fall in that sort of line? It just helps you identify, combined with priority in the classification, a potential, sort of triaging of your tickets really. And then I've also added a summary, so just a concise ticket summary with minimal words, so that if you were to use this in your system, you could just have a quick glance through what ticket you have and sort of exactly what it says, a concise summary of the ticket and what the customer is actually asking. Because sometimes, I mean, these are obviously very short examples of what a ticket might be, but you might have a customer who sends a pretty substantial few paragraphs worth of a request, and the concise summary will allow you to very quickly triage what they're looking for. All right, and then I'm asking the AI to produce output in a particular format. Scroll this up. So what I'm asking is to produce the output formatted like this. So I'm giving it an example of what I want. And in this particular case, I'm using a double pipe separated list of values. And I'll show you why in a minute, but that's really just to split the text across columns. And then I'm giving them an example. And then I'm saying the ticket text equals this. And then I'll go, basically, we're going to concatenate the strings and add that in there. All right, so in practice, what we need to do, there's a couple of steps we need to do. So the first one is I just want to do a little bit of pre-processing on the text. So let's just do this. So effectively, the first thing I really want to be doing here is I want to remove line breaks. Okay, so one of the things I've noticed is when using the software is if we send, now it's not really an issue here with these examples, but with real examples, usually we'll get multiple paragraphs, multiple lines in terms of the ticket itself, especially on email. And so just in terms of efficiency with the model and getting the right results from the AI model, it seems to make a huge difference to, to remove line breaks. So I'm just going to run a substitute function. So I'm going to say substitute for this text, and I want to look for char 10. So that is a line break, and I'm going to replace it with a space. All right, so that's all I really want to do. So it's basically pulling any, any paragraphs, just switching them to a space. And then we can autofill that. So that gives us our pre-processing. All right, so then I want to put in a new column for the GPT prompt, because this is the actual prompt we're going to be sending off to the AI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to concatenate a couple of strings. So I'm going to say I'm going to concatenate this column here, and I want to add it to this column here. Now, a couple of things to note is, firstly, we want to just adjust this formula to have the dollar signs, so it always uses that cell. And then what I additionally want to do is I actually want to add another one around that, and I want to add that closing bracket. So as you can see, I've got this ticket text equals, and I've got an open curly brace. I'm going to just close that off with another curly brace. Hit enter, and we're going to autofill that. All right, so now we've got a whole bunch of GPT prompts. So this is effectively what we're going to be sending off. So you can see it's customized it quite nicely for us. So then I'm going to add another comment here for GPT response. And here's where the magic comes in with the this GPT for Sheets. So this gives us a bunch of potential variables that we can use. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say equals GPT. So basically this allows us to send a prompt, and we're going to use that column. Just as simple as that, and we're going to request a response. Let's go and see what it does. All right, so that gives me the response the way I want. So as expected, it comes back low, like a priority classification, a categorization, sentiment analysis, and a summary. Okay, so then what we want to do is we want to split that into columns. So we're going to say priority, we want category, we want sentiment, and a summary. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pull a split function. I'm going to split this text, and we're going to use those double pipes. This is why I put those double pipes in there. Split, and there we go. Now we've got our columns with the various things. Now all we need to do is apply this to the rest of our columns. That's going to go and fire this off to GPT. Now notice here it does say that there is currently high latency using the selected model. So it might take a little while to return a result. Okay, but it's getting there. Now, the other thing you might notice is in most cases, it's returning what we want, but in some cases, you'll see it's coming back like this. It's not using the formatting we asked. Now, so what you can do is you can start to analyze, well, why did it do that? So the easiest way is to you basically copy this text, which is why we put this into prompt column. And then what you can do is you go to the playground. So if you go to OpenAI, so if you go to platform.openai.com and you log in with your account, so you will need a paid account to do this. You can then access this thing called Playground. Now I'm going to go paste in my prompt here. So now the first thing I need to do is I need to take out all these extra quotes. So it seems to add a lot of extra quotes when you copy and paste from Google Sheets, specifically in Safari. All All right, so a couple of things to notice. So firstly, it's actually only allowing me to choose DaVinci 03 instead of GPT-3 Turbo, and that might be part of the difference, right? So we can also adjust temperature and minimum length. So temperature is kind of how creative the AI will be. So I've set it to 0.5. So if you look at, I think we did that here as well. So we actually had, so we've got GPT 3.5 Turbo. We could actually change it to DaVinci. We've actually got it on precise at the moment. You could have this set to neutral or creative. The more creative it is, the more, literally, the more creative its responses will be. If you bring the temperature down, it'll be less repetitive. It'll be more repetitive, and it'll be more accurate or more precise. Whereas if you go all the way on the extreme on creative, it'll actually, because it can actually go to, I think, a high of 2. If you put it all the way to 2, it literally just starts rambling at you. It's, in terms of creativity. But yeah, so you can fine tune the temperature. So I've got this on 0.5 and we've got DaVinci 03. Let's just see. Basically, we can plug that in here and we can hit submit. This will run it to the AI. And so we actually get a response here that's the format we want. So we might find that the model for this might actually find DaVinci 03 is actually a better model to use. So if we can go and select here, and I'm just going to rerun so you can refresh particular things here. So I'm going to rerun this one. And there we go. We actually get, I'm going to try it again with GPT 3.5 just as an example. So this is some of the sort of fine tuning you need to play around with. You need to identify, based on your needs, which model gives you the best result and the best speed, because each model is different. So, and you can learn more about the models here. So if you go to Playground and you have a look, when you go to select the models, it'll tell you a little bit more. So for example, it gives you kind of an idea of what the different things are. You can also go and have a look at, they should have in the documentation all the different models. Here you go. So for example, you can have a look at all the different models here. So you can go and have a view of what it is and how it works and sort of what it's better at. So certain models are better at different things. So you can play around with that. So in this case, it's probably going to be better to run DaVinci 03. And then I'm going to refresh these ones that didn't work correctly. So I can just highlight them and then say refresh the ones in selection. Let's run that. You can actually see that there's a fairly high latency for this model as well currently. So this is all real time. It depends on where it's sitting. But you can see this model seems to generate more predictable results for us. So that's actually what we're looking for. So that's ideal, right? So then what we can do is the split function. We can just run that all the way to the bottom. And effectively, there's all our information that we want. So now what we could do is now we go and have a look and kind of see what's what and kind of make sure that it's making sense. And we could potentially import this back into our platform to update data. So you can see it's pretty quick to classify and categorize 20 tickets. Now you can imagine at scale, you could literally run this on, a ton of different tickets. You can run this on several thousand at a time, as an example. All right, so in terms of cost, I just wanted to mention that this is incredibly cost effective because each request to the API, and it depends which model you use, different models have different pricing, but I think the GPT-3 DaVinci is priced at around 0.002 US cents per 1,000 tokens. Now, 1,000 tokens is about 750 words in English. And so effectively the pricing is very low. Now I ran some tests. I ran it on about 200 service tickets, and I ran it 4 or 5 times while tweaking the model, and all of that cost less than $1. And I ran some calculations based on that. For about 14,000 tickets to classify them should only cost about $25. So you can see it's incredibly cost effective, and you can do it with some tweaking and analyzing. You could actually half an hour to an hour, and you can have a pretty reasonable chunk of data or classified and categorized. All right, so I hope that adds some value. So, so basically, what next? So what I would suggest doing from here is improving the accuracy. So you could work on, say, for example, pull a list of 100 or 200 tickets, or a decent sample size, run this type of thing, and that could be just customer service tickets, whatever data you choose to use this on. Run about 100 or 200 records and kind of just check that it's check the results, make sure it makes sense to you, make sure it's getting accurate information. What you could do if it's not, or if you want better accuracy, you can start to tweak the prompt itself. So you can give more context in the prompt. You can, for example, I've had it, I was playing around with one where, you might suggest a recommended action. So you ask the AI to give you a recommended action. And if it's a refund, it'll tell you, refund the customer. But you could add into the prompt itself that says, all refunds need to be reviewed by a team manager first. And then the response will actually say, refund the customer after it's been approved by team lead. So you can engineer certain, this is the concept of prompt engineering is, you can build out the prompt with more context that gives the AI more information in order to be able to answer those queries. The other thing you can do is look at fine-tuning your model. So this is, the OpenAI, for example, it doesn't allow you to train the model because it is a pre-trained model. So ChatGPT or the OpenAI GPT model is a pre-trained model, but it allows you to do some fine-tuning. So you can provide sets of data that gives it examples on a little bit more around what the expected responses are for certain things. It's not the same as training, but it is fine tuning to your specific use case, with maybe specific information about your company or your products and so on. So you can allow it to fine tune data like that. The other thing you can do is automate. So for example, if you're using this on customer service system, you could automate this for new tickets. So I've got a quick example on Zapier. So you could use, if you're using Zapier for automation, you could have a trigger running. I've just got an example here on Google Sheets, but you could have this running when a new ticket is created in your system, whether you're using something like HubSpot, Freshdesk, whatever. It can trigger on a new ticket creation. I would run it through a text formatter as well. So this is the same process that I was doing in terms of removing those new lines. You can have Zapier do it. You would just need to use Zapier's particular new line filter or whatever characters. So again, you can go and check the documentation for those particular characters. And then you fire off the prompt to ChatGPT or to OpenAI, I should say. So you can tell it to send a prompt. Obviously, you just need to connect your OpenAI platform with your API key. And again, here you can choose all your settings. So you can set what model you want to use. You can put in your prompt, and you can see this is where I've put the prompt in, and then I've placed the placeholder here with the the process text, the formatted text. Again, you can tweak the temperature, response length, etc., and basically run it like that. And then you can take the result of that and spit that back to your system. So you could go immediately update, the different classification categories or systems in your help desk system directly. So it could automatically run for any brand new tickets. So that's a particular way of running that. All right, so I hope that was valuable. Just a quick overview of a potential use case for running using OpenAI to help classify large amounts of data and get a lot more information from it. All right.